Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most fascinating corporate evolutions in modern history. We're going to look at the architecture of pizza, specifically how Domino's transformed from a single, humble storefront into a literal global juggernaut of tech and logistics. We're going to uncover exactly how they engineered this worldwide dominance. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll trace their scrappy 1960s origins, look at a massive product pivot, explore their transition into a full-blown tech enterprise, check out their reinvented delivery systems, and finally, dive into the software driving their massive global footprint. All right, let's kick things off with Act 1, the Volkswagen Beetle beginnings. It's a look at a rather humble and frankly surprising origin story. It just proves that massive empires can start from, well, almost nothing. Back in 1960, brothers Tom and James Monaghan borrowed just $900. Think about that, $900. They used it to buy a small shop called Domino's in Ypsilanti, Michigan. After a little early success, Tom became the sole owner, renames the business Domino's Pizza in 1965, and aggressively scaled it up. Fast forward to 1983, and they're pushing well beyond the U.S., opening their very first international store in Winnipeg, Canada. Try to imagine building a multi-billion-dollar global empire from this incredibly simple brick-and-mortar past. And here is the wildest part of that early history. Within the very first year, James Monaghan, who actually had a full-time job as a mail carrier, traded his half of the entire company to his brother Tom for, get this, a used 1959 Volkswagen Beetle. That single vehicle trade literally changed the course of fast food history. Moving forward, let's jump to Act 2, reinventing the core recipe. This was a completely critical inflection point. The company realized they had to make a drastic change or they just weren't going to survive. So the key here is that by 2009, Domino's was facing some intense, heavy criticism about the actual taste of their food. So what did they do? After nearly 50 years with the exact same recipe, they pulled off one of the boldest moves in corporate history. They totally ripped up their foundational product. I mean, they rebuilt their crust, sauce, and cheese from the ground up just to answer their toughest consumer critics. And this willingness to radically pivot their core physical product, that set the absolute foundation for their next massive transformation. Which brings us right into our third act. We're shifting away from culinary history and straight into digital innovation. We're going to see how Domino's essentially became a software and logistics platform that just happens to sell pizza. Just look at this number. An incredible 85% of Domino's US sales are now generated via digital ordering channels. I mean, that stat alone totally validates the premise that technology is no longer just some add-on for them. It is their true core product, and it drives their entire customer experience. And this perfectly echoes CEO Russell Weiner's perspective. He points out that this tech-driven growth isn't just a flash in the pan. They are building a proprietary arsenal. These investments in digital infrastructure are foundational, long-term plays designed to keep them, honestly, light years ahead of the competition. Behind the scenes, making the whole shebang happen, is a proprietary operating system known as DOM-OS. This is their unified tech backbone. It doesn't just take your order, it manages complex real-world operations. For example, if a store introduces a secondary cooking platform, DOM-OS is specifically built to seamlessly align the timing of those new items with the pizzas coming out of the regular oven. It maximizes kitchen efficiency and makes rolling out new products incredibly smooth. And all of this underlying tech paved the way for one of their most famous innovations. Launched back in 2008, the Domino's Tracker was a massive industry first. It gave customers real-time visibility into the pizza-making process, right from the moment the dough was stretched to the second it left the store. It fundamentally changed what consumers expected from delivery and sparked a huge wave of copycats across the entire food sector. To really grasp the sheer ubiquity of their tech stack today, you've got to consider their Anywhere suite. You can literally order a pizza from almost any screen or smart device in your life. Whether you're collaborating in Slack, driving with Apple CarPlay or Ford Sync, or talking to your Google Home or Amazon Echo, Domino's is there. They're completely integrated into the modern digital ecosystem, removing literally every possible friction point between you and your pizza. All right, now that we deeply understand the software side, let's roll into Act 4. We're exploring how they engineered the physical delivery of the product. Because getting a piping hot pizza to a front door requires some serious logistical wizardry. Their relentless focus on product quality during transit kicked into high gear back in 1998 with the introduction of the heatwave hot bags. Now, originally, these relied on electric cords plugged into the store to charge up a heating mechanism. But they didn't stop there. They evolved that technology into a completely cord-free induction heating system just to guarantee your food arrives at an optimal, oven-hot temperature. Remember that 1959 VW Beetle we talked about earlier, the one traded for half the company? Well, contrast that humble, standard little car with what they launched in 2015, the DXP. This is a highly specialized, purpose-built fleet vehicle that can carry 80 pizzas at once while actively keeping them hot. They spent 3 full years developing this DXP vehicle, and they even started with a global crowdsourcing design competition. It features a built-in warming oven located right behind the driver's door, plus custom storage for super easy loading and unloading. It completely revolutionized last-mile pizza logistics, and it proves that they really do engineer every single touchpoint of the delivery process. For our final act, Act 5, we are going to connect this high-tech backbone and all this logistics mastery to their massive international expansion. Like, how on earth does this system scale across the entire planet? Well, it turns out it scales remarkably well. By early 2024, Domino's was managing over 22,300 stores. They now operate in more than 90 international markets. And the secret sauce to managing this colossal scale is that unified modular tech stack we discussed earlier. It allows international franchise partners to just seamlessly replicate their core strategies. But here's the cool part. They localize intensely to deal with real-world, boots-on-the-ground challenges. For instance, in Aruba, the intense coastal winds literally forced franchisees to abandon standard delivery motorcycles and switch entirely to small trucks. Meanwhile, in markets like India, they're operating at a mind-boggling scale, crossing the 1,200 store mark back in 2019. They take their core digital platform and mold it to the unique physical realities of every single country. Whether that means partnering with Ford to test autonomous, self-driving delivery vehicles in Miami, or rolling out agile, pedal-powered e-bikes to navigate dense urban centers, they are continuously adapting. They ensure their delivery infrastructure perfectly matches the specific needs of the local community. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a quick question to totally reframe how you see this brand going forward. When you use your smartwatch or your car's dashboard to seamlessly track a piping hot meal right to your front door, is your next pizza really coming from a traditional restaurant? Or are you actually interacting with a highly advanced e-commerce logistics platform that just happens to bake dough? The data heavily points to the latter. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack the architecture of Domino's and keep learning.